Good afternoon, Leni.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I am wonderful. How was your week? Done anything fun?
Well, I tried something new this week. I got a weighted vest to wear as you're walking because a doctor recommended to my sister, went through some cancer treatments, to walk with a weighted vest because that actually helps build your bone structure, which is women of our age really need that. But I have to tell you, I got charged way extra for it being delivered here to Baja because it weighs so much. And then even taking it out of the box, I thought, how am I going to put this thing on?
Really?
It's pretty, and I think it's only like 8 to 10 pounds,
That's
but it
still
felt
a
really,
lot. That is still a lot. Yes, it is.
So what about you? Have you tried anything new?
Well, yeah, I foolishly decided that I was going to buy a bicycle because I want to strengthen my legs. And so with this new bike that I negotiated heavily for, but I finally got a good price. And so I climbed up on one side and immediately fell off the other side. And now I'm in the process of trying to learn how to use it, how to work the gears, and so I don't have to drive in circles because I don't have the strength to make it up to here. But I'll give you an update on how I do with my new device. I'm actually quite excited. And when I was on the flat and actually could pedal, it felt so good. It felt like the wind was kissing my cheeks. It was just wonderful. So I'm kind of excited. Just a little bit nervous about falling off.
Yes, but I think that's wonderful. You're trying something new, and that I'm trying something new too. We have to keep doing that, right?
Absolutely,
to keep our brains firing.
Creating new pathways by doing something new.
Well, today we have with us Winifred Morice, who she has defined herself, and I believe this is the best definition of Winifred, incurably enthusiastic. Because every time I see you, Winifred, you have this incredible smile on your face. You just greet life in each day and people with such love, kindness, and caring. It just radiates off you. People can't be in a bad mood around you at all. I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. And the incredible thing, well, there's a lot of incredible things about Winifred, but one is that she worked with Richard Simmons as his nutritionist for 16 years and wrote all his cookbooks for him. So, Winifred, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm excited being with two such extraordinary women. This is great. I love it. I feel very comfortable in your presence.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about your work with Richard Simmons.
With Richard Simmons, it was an amazing ride because he is so funny and so much fun to be around. And I really had carte blanche with all the projects. We did every cookbook I wrote had a full photograph of every recipe, and he even let me write poems for each sort of category of the cookbooks.
So your poetry is even included in the cookbook.
Yes.
Wow.
So we really worked very harmoniously together. He used to say we only had 2 arguments in 16 years and that he was right both times.
And I bet he wasn't.
Oh no, he wasn't. But that's one of the things that I've learned over the years when I'm working with people. I don't take anything personally, really. Richard would sometimes get a little off the wall crazy, and I would just wait till it passed and then just carry on.
As if nothing had happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because I'm really dealing with that in my life, trying not to take things personally, trying not to have people say certain things that seem to trigger me, and then I just go to this upset reaction, right? I mean, not that I try to involve other people in that reaction, but it's still like going in my head. So how do you do that?
Well, I'm trying to think. It's been about 15 or 20 years since I read that little book called The 4 Agreements.
Oh, I love that book, yeah.
And I literally I achieve as best as possible, because one of the agreements is to always do your best. So with the other 3 agreements, I'm simply doing my best, and they sound so simple. One is not to take anything personally.
Yeah.
Do not make assumptions.
Yeah. And be impeccable with your word.
Yes. And that is something I really like to live by. It bothers me tremendously if I have to change something that I've agreed to. And I think I grew up with very exacting parents, and so that was a sort of something that I really took to heart, being impeccable with my word, because I think it's so important when...
There's a loss of credibility if you don't.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So true. Another thing that I grew up with was punctuality, which is almost being impeccable with your word. I'll be there at a certain time. Because my father, with whom I had an extraordinary relationship, because he was a very strict disciplinarian, but so much fun, and everything was fun. So he would say, when I was just really little, I'm going to town at 10:31. If you would like to come, you have to be in the car. And at 10:31, Dad would drive off whether I was in the car or not. So he wouldn't wait even a second, not a second. And so I learned to be in the car at the right time. But it was always done with fun, so that when I got my driver's license and it was my turn to pick him up from work, he asked me to pick him up at 5 o'clock. So I was there in time, and I listened to our town clock striking 5. And as soon as the last stroke of 5 sounded, I just started the car ready to drive away, because he'd said 5, he wasn't there, I was leaving. And at that exact moment, one of his workmates came running out of the office door, and he looked at me and he said, I thought you were here to pick up your father. I said, well, I am, but he's not here, so I'm leaving. And at that moment, Dad came rushing out holding his hat and his coat, and he looked amazed to see me there. He said, I didn't think you'd still be here. And I said, I wouldn't have been if your co-worker hadn't held me up. So he thought it was hilarious. He expected me to behave the same way.
Wow.
So what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
Exactly. And so he was always very fair, but with punctuality, one time he couldn't pick me up after a school dance, which ended at on a Saturday night at 12:30, and so he had a taxi come to pick me up at 12:32. He thought I had 2 minutes to get my things together. No chance of any goodnight kisses.
No, you said he was a lot of fun. And that's what I think of you. Whenever I see you and being around you, even the way you dress so colorfully, beautifully, it's fun. Everything is fun. So I just admire that you somehow got that from him and continue that.
I think you're right. It's so interesting because my mother was opposite. She really didn't have a sense of humor. So whenever there was something really funny happening, my mother would always say, well, I don't see anything funny in that, which would just make us laugh even harder. We laughed so hard when Mum said that, because I had the most wonderful parents. They were so perfect for me, but they were not perfect for each other.
Oh.
And one of my biggest fears in life was that I would be expected to marry. And I certainly thought that was a bit of a trick. Marriage was a trick. And I didn't want to get married. My older sisters had all got married, and I managed to get engaged 4 or 5 times, but I couldn't get married. I just couldn't.
So talking about fears, what fears have you had to walk through in order to be who you are today? Apart from marriage.
Apart from marriage. Oh.
Yeah, what did you fear about marriage? Were you?
I just thought it was a trick. I didn't see any connection between my parents, and I felt it would be somehow stifling, that I wouldn't be able to be all that I wanted to be. I didn't know what that was, but I felt an inner kind of exuberance my whole life, and I wanted to be able to express that. So I thought marriage, and actually my biggest fear was of having a child, because my French teacher, when I was 13, became pregnant, and I had to sit in the front of the class to because I wore glasses and I had to see the blackboard. And her stomach just kept getting bigger and bigger. It was sort of at eye level. And I knew nothing about the facts of life, really, but I did know that whatever was growing inside her was going to have to come out of a very little hole. And I thought, that is never going to happen to me. I will never let anything like that happen inside me, so that I couldn't conceive of it. And every now and again, when she was really pregnant, she would rest her stomach on the front of my on my desk. I don't think she realized she was doing it, but I think I have PTSD about that. that was traumatizing. But when you talk about fears, of just fears going through life, my mother was very fearful about a lot of things. So I was fearful about practical things, like not going too deep in the water, not going to the edge of a high hill and looking over the top, and not to, like when I traveled around the world for the first time, when I got on a plane to go overseas, she said, "Do be careful, dear, and don't get on a hijacked plane." Her thinking was a little twisted, but she'd never been anywhere. But she just knew that I was going off by myself. And the other thing she said was, don't ever, ever, ever let your passport out of your sight. Now, she didn't have a passport, but she knew it was very important. So the first time my passport got wet in the shower, I said, mothers don't know everything. I was so afraid of not obeying my mother and leaving my passport somewhere else when I got it, even when I got in the shower.
So you took it with you?
I did. And then when it got wet, that was my aha moment. Oh, mothers don't know everything. And then I was on my own. Yay!
So is there anything specific that you overcame in order to be that delightful person that you are today?
You were always that. It sounded
Honestly,
like you.
I don't think so. And the weird thing is, I don't even fear death. So if you don't fear death,
It gives you permission to be.
I don't know. I don't really fear anything. I'll be 80 next month, and I'm thinking, well, shouldn't I be feeling old? But I'm not. I don't know. I'm just going, I live each day.
Well, you said earlier that you felt at a very early age that there was more possibility in you, that you, I forget the exact words, but there was more to be lived, to experience, that you knew that there was a lot you could give and do. You didn't know exactly what that was, but you always had that sense.
Yes.
Where do you think that came from?
I really don't know. It was something inside me. And I felt it, even, well, this is a whole other subject, but religion was, we went to church every Sunday, but again, it was all surface kind of stuff. And so when I took it really seriously, my parents were embarrassed that I'd suddenly become all religious. And I said, well, you did it to me.
If you were going to church every Sunday,
Yes. And later on, when I did take off for this trip around the world when I was 24, I went away for 2 years and just traveled by myself. And I decided I was just going to give up, put behind me all my broken off engagements and and certainly I was giving up God, because that had certainly not done me any good, isolating me with my family more, almost, because my mother didn't believe in saying a blessing before a meal, because she said if it were not for me, there wouldn't be a meal, so why should I have to thank somebody else?
Wow.
That
Okay,
is
yeah.
interesting.
And yet
That
she
is
was the
interesting.
one initially who had us all baptized. And so she was...
So there were
So
some
a lot of-
contradictions
Yes,
in a
so
way.
lot
no
of
wonder I was
conflicts,
mixed
yeah.
up
Yeah.
as well as that.
So tell me a little bit about the trip
Well,
for 2 years in Europe by
yes.
yourself.
I carried 2 little suitcases because it was long before the days of rollerboard luggage, and I was wearing a leather coat that I had made for myself.
You made it?
I made it. I bought a cow skin, and I made all my clothes from the time I was 11. I had never had anything purchased, anything store-bought ever. And my mother made all my clothes until I was 11, and then after that it was my job. And I made this gorgeous coat and a little matching hat all out of leather, and I had that, and that was kind of my armor, I think, for my whole trip, because I slept in it and on it, and I had a real adventure. But when I talked about that I gave up God because I wanted to be free of all this stuff, when I got back after my trip and I really started thinking about everything that had happened to me, I thought, well, you can give up God, but God doesn't give up you. Because everything has unfolded for me in my life so magically, even with all the crazy mistakes I've made, and I have had some down times. I mean, we have to, otherwise we wouldn't be living fully, we wouldn't be experiencing.
And we
fully.
wouldn't be grateful for the good times.
Exactly. And I think that's really what it all is for me. I just live in so much gratitude. It's overwhelming.
So may I ask, what are your strengths? What do you perceive as being your strength?
I think I'm very independent. I'm an independent thinker, and I don't follow the crowd really. I don't voice a lot of my opinions because most of the time I think, gosh, well, somebody's going to disagree with me, and I'm not argumentative at all, because my parents never said a cross word to each other. There were no raised voices in my whole upbringing. So I don't really know how to be argumentative or to yell and carry on. So I'm independent, and I think that is really my strength, that I've been able to branch out on my own. I haven't had a real job since 1974. I was working with Weight Watchers in Greater Los Angeles, and that's a whole other story about why I left my job. That's for a different podcast maybe. But I just did consulting work, and I've done a lot of so many interesting, amazing things have come my way that I've just had a marvelous, charmed life, and I'm still having it. I'm still enjoying that. When kiwi fruit were introduced to America, they asked me if I would bring the fruit to America, because Americans didn't know what to do with it. So for 4 years, I was the spokesperson for kiwi fruit, doing all the TV show morning tours around the country.
Oh my gosh.
For 4 years in the kiwi fruit season. So it wasn't the whole year. I'd be just doing it for maybe a couple of weeks of intense television appearances. I've worked for New Zealand lamb, New Zealand mussels, apples, and I mean, it's just been so fun.
It's fascinating to me. You know what I hear, and also the little I know of you and the times I've been with you, it seems to me that one of how I would describe you is that you're open. You're open to experience, to doors opening and walking through those doors. That you're very incurably enthusiastic, but open and willing to experience new and different things. I don't think everybody is necessarily like that, or it's harder for some people to do that. there's more fear involved. For you, I think it's a joy.
Well, it is, Mary. It's a joy, but because I have this perfectionistic part of me that I get from my father, I do, I overthink a lot of things when I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, which I'm willing to do. I really think it's important for our growth to do things that feel uncomfortable, to do things we've never done before. Like when I traveled the world, my parents would much have preferred me to have a companion. Then I thought, no, I would miss out on opportunities that a friend might not want to have. And I think I've always been a bit of a loner. The jobs I've done have a lot of times have just been recipe development in my own kitchen and things. So I don't mind being alone at all. But what was I starting to say?
So you feel very confident in yourself, but also like being with yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's a beautiful thing, because I don't think everybody necessarily, sadly, feels that way.
Right.
You know, they don't want to be by themselves because they don't want to necessarily have that experience. They want to be with other people, to maybe not look inward, to not experience themselves, right?
That's true. And I think that it comes from accepting. We have to get to a place where we really love who we are. And that, yes, I would think, this would be one of the things that I'm most proud of in my life. On the cruises that I did with Richard Simmons, we did about 18 cruises in the time that I worked with him. We took about 400 people at a time, and I became so aware that people who are painfully obese, really in a very difficult, life-threatening place for some of them, that it's nothing to do with it's only a tiny bit to do with food. It's to do with pain. And it's to do with putting a barrier around that pain and not knowing how to cope with life. And so the thing that I was talking to Richard about this, and I said, please let me teach a class that has nothing to do with food, so that I can deal with some of the pain that people are going through. And I had learned a lot of techniques and a lot of tools from working with John Gray before he became famous with Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I worked initially with him in his workshops in Santa Monica called Making Love Work, and I needed it so badly for myself because I had failed at the idea. I was very bad at relationships. I didn't understand that you were supposed to have just one relationship at a time, and I just didn't understand how to be in a really honest relationship. And I had so much to learn. And the first thing I really learned was that I deserved to be loved just the way I am. And I didn't know it, and I didn't feel it. It took a lot. John Gray personally just really working with me on this, with me resisting and tears and carrying on. Like, how could you say such a thing with all the terrible things I had done, and breaking off engagements and doing and hurting people and things. I felt really bad about myself. So I learned how vital that is, and I was able somehow to teach people in these evening classes on the cruises. And Richard, the first time, he said, well, you're never doing that again. And I said, why not? And
Why?
He said, because Carnival is going to overcharge me for extra boxes of tissues. Because there was so much healing that took place in those classes that it was astounding. And after that, I made audio cassette tapes for people to take home with them, to listen to the messages and the techniques and to practice and people would write to me and say they listen to their tape every day.
Wow.
Because so I'm really, when I say proud, I'm grateful that I had the tools, and that I was able to transmit them and help people to realize that they were absolutely perfect just the way they were. And that's just such a huge thing to learn. And even today, if somebody complains about, just the other day out in Punta Banda, somebody was complaining about, she said, oh, when did my arms just turn into these wings? And I said, but think how wonderful they are. They're helping you every day to lift heavy boxes and to do things. She said, oh, you're right. So we have to, the things that we find ourselves feeling negative towards, we have to find ways to turn that around and feel grateful and realize for every thing that's going wrong with our bodies at this time in our lives, we have to be grateful for what's going right, and we have to be grateful sometimes for the pain we're in, because pain teaches us.
It's a messenger.
It is. Yeah. And I like to teach people not to just cover up the pain with any kind of painkiller, because then how can you know if you're hurting or not?
Oh, yes.
And that reminds me about a quote, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So there's a lesson in everything. Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun to find all those lessons and then learn from them.
What is your biggest regret, if you have any?
My biggest regret is that I didn't learn all this sooner. Just for the hurts of people that I've hurt by my not understanding things in myself, that I didn't get it right. And it's interesting because I think a regret that only lasts if you're still in that space. If you haven't grown beyond a regret, then you're inclined to hold on to it. But if you've grown beyond it enough to let it go, it can still be a disappointment, something you're sad about, and you can go back and think about it from time to time, but you don't live there, because all we have is now. And that's become such a trite saying, but it's so true.
Yes.
And you can't do anything about yesterday at all. So you may as well focus on now and look forward. And that's all we can do.
Was there anything in particular that brought you to that realization, or was it a gradual?
I think it's been gradual, and I have held on to some regrets for a long time, until I think I did some energy work or something, and just because regrets are heavy, and they don't serve us unless a regret can be revisited and fixed. It has no purpose. It cannot improve our lives if there's nothing to be done about it. So we have to learn to grow beyond our regrets. And I think it was probably gradual for me. But I think when I look at my life overall, as a little kid, I read the Pollyanna books, where Pollyanna played the glad game, so that no matter, she was crippled and living with clothes from the missionary barrel or something, but she always found something to be glad about. And I thought that was a really fun game. And I think I've just been playing it ever since.
Okay. Oh, Winifred, thank you so much. This has been so incredible, and I so appreciate this time and your wisdom.
Oh,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
And I know our listeners will as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I've enjoyed being with you. Thank you.